artificial sweeteners actually increase the risk of diabetes more than sugar.
Hi, welcome to Lifestyle Construction Episode 9. I'm Billy Weeks, the drug-free pharmacist, and we want to start this week's episode with reminding you or asking you how you did with our vitamin D challenge last week. If you missed what we talked about with vitamin D last week, please go back and watch. It's extremely critical that you have optimal vitamin D levels. So I hope that you all took the advice of having your vitamin D levels checked and starting on a high-quality vitamin D3 supplement. So let's get right into the theme that we started last week about diabetes. You see, I believe that we all deserve a life full of vitality, or what I would call optimal health and wellness. But I believe that we have to make those decisions to create that type of optimal health and wellness. And so I want to talk about today something that I teach in my classes, in my lifestyle construction classes, is that I don't want to have normal levels or normal labs in America because most Americans are sick. 1 out of 2 Americans either have diabetes or insulin resistance or pre-diabetes. So we don't want to be normal, and I'm going to talk about why that's so important. I want to have optimal labs. Remember, this whole program is based on optimal health and wellness and fitness. So we want to talk a little bit today about how sometimes normal labs, or so-called normal labs, can be deceiving to us and can create issues. So let's look at our diabetes, because it is such an epidemic today among adults and children, unfortunately. And again, I'm talking about type 2 diabetics here when I'm discussing this. But normal labs in America actually have pre-diabetes as being a fasting blood sugar or fasting glucose of over 100. Now, fasting just means you haven't eaten for a period, like overnight. You would take your blood in the morning and they would test your sugar. So that's what I mean when I say fasting. You've been in a fasting state without food for 8 to 12 hours typically. So pre-diabetes is defined as a fasting blood glucose of over 100. Diabetes is defined as a fasting glucose above 126. So above 126 and above 100 is where kind of our normal and abnormal start. But the research shows that a fasting glucose number above 84 actually starts to create problems. And it actually starts to create issues such as increased risk of heart attacks, cancer, strokes, nerve damage, and other complications such as kidneys and eye complications. So again, I don't want to push up to the 100. I don't want to push up to the 126. I want to make sure that I am 84 or below, and I want to make sure that you understand why that's so important. So if you go and you have an annual physical and it's creeping up to 90, 95, 99, 100, and you ignore it, that's going to create a big issue down the road, or certainly can create a big issue down the road. It's a situation that is now kind of termed as diabesity, where the blood sugars are kind of normal, but they're creeping up, and we have some complications. Maybe we can't lose that belly fat. Maybe, you know, we're having some vision issues, whatever it may be. Maybe we're at an increased risk for these other things that I've discussed here about heart attacks and strokes. And we don't always consider that the normal levels that we are told could be the issue that's creating some of the other problems that we have. So we want to make sure that we concentrate on optimal levels when we're looking at labs and not normal levels when it comes to blood glucose. And we discussed last week when it comes to vitamin D levels. Optimal levels are what we're shooting for in lifestyle construction for you. The tip of the week for week 9 continues into our diabetes talk. We want to talk about the fact that artificial sweeteners actually increase the risk of diabetes more than sugar. Now, I'm not condoning that you eat sugar, of course, but artificial sweeteners
actually are worse. In 1987, there were about 70 million Americans who consumed artificial sweeteners on a regular basis. In the year 2000, there were about 170 million Americans who consumed artificial sweeteners on a regular basis. During that same time period, obesity actually doubled. And the sad part is childhood obesity is the fastest growing category of obesity in America. And so we think that because they're no-calorie sweeteners or sweetener substitutes, that we can use those in place of sugar, and actually the research shows that it's worse. A University of Texas, I believe it was their School of Public Health, actually did a study and showed that drinking 3 regular soft drinks was equal to drinking only 1 diet soft drink in weight gain. So let me make sure that that doesn't sound backwards. 3 regular sugary sodas was equal to drinking 1 artificially sweetened soda in weight gain. So it's actually a 3-to-1 reverse in the University of Texas study of what we've been led to believe and what all the marketing campaigns are around. So we want to avoid artificial sweeteners at all costs. Again, I'm not suggesting that you use a lot of sugar products, but we want to certainly avoid artificial sweeteners. They're loaded with complications to our health. They're loaded with neuropathy or nerve issues. They're just loaded with stroke, increased risk of strokes, increased risk of heart attacks. So artificial sweeteners are something that we certainly want to avoid. And if you see your sugar numbers or your weight gain being an issue, I want to talk to you about a study that was done and actually published in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition that said that women who drank 1 12-ounce artificially sweetened soda a week had a 33% increase of diabetes. Women who drank 1 20-ounce artificially sweetened soda in a week had a 66% increase in developing diabetes. I want you to think about that, and I want you to think about the fact that diabetics are taught in many cases that they can have unlimited amounts of artificial sweeteners. So we have to start thinking a little differently. Obviously, we have to educate ourselves on what's really true and not what the marketing campaigns are showing us. Thanks for joining us this week on the episode 9 of the Lifestyle Construction. Please make sure and subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook. We'll see you next week. Thanks again.